Assalamu alaikum. Good evening, everyone. I'm Mohammad Anisor Rahman, Assistant Professor, Department of English, and Director, Center for Excellence and Career Development of Dhaka International University. I'm the moderator of today's international lecture series on Shakespearean Sonnets. The international lecture series is the special initiative taken by Dhaka International University Management. Today's international lecture series is going to be held with the joint venture of Dhaka International University, Bangladesh, and MTC Global, India. We, Dhaka International University, are very glad to share that we have been conducting the highest numbers of webinars, workshops, national and international lecture series on different schools and programs since the very day of current pandemic situation. We also have been conducting every classes, exams, and academic activities from the first day of lockdown here in Bangladesh. To credit this, I must acknowledge my deep-rooted humble gratitude to the Chairman, Board of Trustees of Dhaka International University, Barrister Shamim Haidar Patwari Sir, MP, Bangladesh National Parliament. With his continuous inspiration, these webinars, workshops, and international lecture series boost the knowledge of our beloved students and got a huge positive response from them. I feel glad to show my humble thanks to Vice Chairman, Board of Trustees of Dhaka International University, Dr. Shohidul Qadir Patwari Sir, and Honorable Vice Chancellor of Dhaka International University, Professor Dr. K.M. Mohsin Shah, for their active instructions to organize this educative lecture series. My heartfelt thanks go to Professor Dr. Bolana Datta, founder of MTC Global India, and Professor Dr. Shirajul Islam Pradhan Shah, Director, IQAC of Dhaka International University, for their active role to make this program happen today. Dear audience, welcome to today's workshops. William Shakespeare, often called England's national poet, is not only treated as the greatest dramatist of all time, but also treated as a writer of great intellectual rapidity, perceptiveness, and poetic power. His 154 sonnets mark the testimony that a lot of modern sonneteers try to imitate them. His works are loved throughout the world. It may be audacious to attempt definition of his greatness, but it is not so difficult to describe the gifts that enabled him to create imaginative vision of pathos and mirth. To learn about his command over sonnets, we have our resource person today who has vast knowledge over Shakespearean sonnets. So now let's get introduced with our today's resource person. She's none other than Dr. Paramita Chaudhuri. Dr. Paramita Chaudhuri is presently serving as a principal in Lady Vailankanni English School, Bangalore. She has over a decade of teaching experience spreading primary, secondary, and tertiary level of education. Dr. Paramita Chaudhuri started her schooling at Calcutta Girls High School and later on earned her BA honors in Department of English and MA degree from the same department. She was awarded Ph.D. degree on English literature. Besides, she also accomplished B.ED, D.P.P.ED, MBA, and MA in the Department of Economics. She is also a Versatile English Language Lab certified trainer. Dr. Paramita Chaudhuri had rich corporate experience and worked in mid and senior level role at HDFC Bank, AmSource, HP, Webex, and Cisco in the areas of technology, client service, and soft skill training. She has authored 2 books, contributed chapters per book, and published remarkable numbers of research papers in different journals. She is also working as the chairperson of MTC Global English Language Lab, India, and also catering the training needs of corporate and academia. She is a sought-after speaker in many national and international forums. We heartily welcome you, ma'am, to have you as the resource person of today's international lecture series on Shakespearean Sonnet. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, sir. I'm really happy. First of all, good evening, everyone present here. And I'm very extremely happy. I extend my heartfelt greetings to Barrister Shamim Haidar Patwari, MP, Republic of Bangladesh, Chairman, Board of Trustees, Dhaka International University, Dr. Shirajul Islam Pradhan, Director, IQAC, Dhaka International University, Chairman, Department of English, all the educators present here, and my dear students. It's an excellent packed platform wherein we can go ahead and share our knowledge. It's just like a collaboration, okay? So I'll be talking about Shakespearean sonnets, and then I'll be taking up all the questions, and anybody can go ahead and ask any questions. Please feel free to ask any questions if you want. So today's theme is Shakespearean sonnets. Now, as Anisor Rahman sir has already mentioned, Shakespeare had already penned down 154 sonnets, because we already know that Shakespeare is a great playwright. We have a lot of plays which are really interesting, like Romeo Juliet, Julius Caesar, like remarkable, King Lear. There are so many plays. He is a great playwright. Apart from that, we also know that he was a great sonneteer. And he wrote almost 154 sonnets, which were published in 1609. And if we see that, why? First of all, let me just explain what is a sonnet. Like, all of you must be knowing that a sonnet is a 14-line poem. Now, it was originated from Italy. Famous sonneteer Petrarch. From Petrarch, it had originated from him, which means the word was sonetto, which means a rhythm, a song, or a jingle, I can say. Therefore, that has originally and had come to England, and slowly other sonneteers had picked up, and Shakespeare was one of them. And Shakespearean sonnets are wide variety. He had used a lot of imaginary, he has used a lot of themes and all. But here, why we have to study Shakespearean sonnets personally? Because I really enjoy Shakespearean sonnets, because we find variety of themes here. It's not only about love. It ranges from stars. He has used stars in his sonnets, as a symbols. He has used flowers. He has used season. All these variety of themes he has used in his sonnets. And the speciality of Shakespearean sonnet is the first 126 sonnets are addressed to his friend. Now, who is this friend? It still remains a mystery, but critics say that he is the Earl of Southampton, Earl of Pembroke. They were two friends, and he had addressed the sonnets to these people. They were very close to him, and he named it as Fair Youth Sonnets. And then rest of the sonnets were addressed to, again, one mysterious lady who was known as a Dark Lady. Still, we don't know who is that Dark Lady. There are a lot of controversies still going on about the Dark Lady. People are not able to discover who is that Dark Lady. So there are a variety of themes what Shakespeare had dealt with in his sonnets. Now, why do we actually want to study Shakespearean sonnets? Because Shakespearean sonnets, we see that there are a lot of imagery. It would really help us to connect with our life. Now, what happened is that now he belonged to the Elizabethan era, and during that time, there were a lot of, it was not a very stable society. Especially women were not given due respect. They were not allowed to vote. They were not allowed to write. They were denied of all the privileges. Therefore, he had picked up also, there are certain themes from these kind. It was a patriarchal society. It was dominated. It was a male dominating society, what we can say. Therefore, he just picked up the Dark Lady concept, and he tried to build up the sonnets. We don't know who is this Dark Lady, and there is a reason why he had named this a Dark Lady, because there was a lot of racial discrimination which was prevailing during the Elizabethan era. Now, racial discrimination, it is a very old issue. Still, it persists in our society. So he had picked up and in some of his sonnets, he had literally used the paradox to mention that if my lady's hair is, if the wire is as black, my lady's hair is more black than that. So he has literally drawn the paradox here, because he did not want to criticize that, but he wanted to emphasize that the Dark Lady, the women, do also need the privilege and the opportunities in the societies. Therefore, this Dark Lady concept has come up. Now, okay, I'll just wait for some time. Any questions, anybody on this?
No question, ma'am, most probably. Ma'am, they will ask you a question most probably at the ending session of the session.
Okay, fine. So what happened is that now Petrarch, the Italian famous sonneteer Petrarch, used to write sonnets, and it was a lyrical sonnet, and that sonnet was typically divided into octave and sestet, the Petrarchan sonnets. Now, how different we are! We are trying to draw the comparison amongst the Petrarchan sonnets, the Miltonic sonnets, the Spenserian sonnets. We'll just try to draw a comparison and see how different Shakespeare was. Now, Petrarchan sonnets, they were lyrical, no doubt about it, and it was divided into octave and sestet. Octave means it is 8 lines, first 8 lines, and then sestet means the concluding 6 lines. Now here, what Petrarch used to do in his sonnets was the first 8 lines used to address the problems of life. It could be anything, any problems of life. And the rest, sestet, used to come with the conclusion, the solution to the problems that he had already posed in that octave, that previous 8 lines. So that was a typical Petrarchan sonnets. But why it is different from Shakespeare? Now, Shakespeare actually was motivated from the Italian sonnets, but he became fed up that, okay, all are writing about life. There is no deviation from that. All are writing about their own struggles. So he wanted to draw variety of things for his sonnets. That is the reason we say Shakespearean sonnets are quite different. And we see that those Shakespearean sonnets are again divided into 14 lines. There are 3 quatrains, and concluding will be a couplet. Couplet means ending 2 lines. And mostly it is written in Iambic Pentameter. Now, what is an Iambic Pentameter? Like in a line, it will be divided into 5 feet, and for one unstressed syllable followed by a stressed syllable. So I'll just give an example of a stressed syllable and unstressed syllable. Now, for example, if I say dum, dum, da, da, dum, dum. So dum has unstressed, dum. So there will be a stress. So one unstressed followed by a stressed syllable. So that was the typical Shakespearean sonnet. And it was quite different from other sonnetiers. Now, if I come to Milton used to write about the struggles of life. He was only concentrating about the struggles of life because we all know that he had lost his eyesight. He was not able to see the world. He couldn't enjoy the world. Therefore, he used to write about his internal struggle. He was fighting within. So he was totally detached from the society. Therefore, he used to write about those struggles. But here we see Shakespeare is drawing from various themes, motives. Even we see the stars. They had been part of Shakespearean sonnets. Because why stars? Now there would be a question. You might go ahead and ask the question: why did Shakespeare just go ahead and pick up stars? There are so many things in this world. Why only stars? So the very reason is we have to understand the age. Now, in the Elizabethan age, we know that history of English literature is divided into age, like Norman age, Anglo-Saxon period. So there are different ages. So here is Elizabethan age. Now, in this Elizabethan age, people believed in astrology, cosmology. They had a lot of faith in stars and planets. So Shakespeare was very much motivated and influenced by the stars. Therefore, he tried to draw a lot of themes, and he penned down a lot of sonnets about drawing the inspiration from stars, and he had written many sonnets. Coming to Spenserian sonnets, Spenserian sonnets are a bit critical. It is difficult to understand the Spenserian sonnet because it is totally complex type. Now, Shakespearean sonnets are famous because it is very easy to understand. It is very easy to comprehend. What I feel personally, you can give your opinion and views because it is very easy to understand. But if you go through Spenserian sonnets, it's not that easy to understand. It will be really a complex. Again, he had delved into the complexities of life, picked up a lot of complex issues about the society, and then he had penned down the sonnets. But here we feel that Shakespearean sonnets are very rhythmatic. easy to understand, lucid, brief, to the point. And we can always go ahead and relate to what the sonneteer is trying to convey to the readers. It's very easy to understand and comprehend. That is the reason Shakespearean sonnets are quite famous. Now, for example, if now one more thing, if you notice the Shakespearean sonnets, usually you will see that the sonnets are numbered. Number 18, number 19, 20, 21, 154. Very few sonnets have no real titles to that. There is no there is no particular reason behind that, but again the critics say that he just kept on writing one sonnet after another based on his personal experience, his real life experience. Therefore that used to just give him a lot of motivation to just go ahead and move further with the sonnets. Therefore he, instead of giving a particular name or the title to that particular sonnet, he preferred to give it a number. So that's how the critics say, but still that that remains clarity is not there. So that's how. Now if we see that, for example, if I take one Shakespearean sonnet, which is sonnet number 18, which says, "Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate." So this particular sonnet is addressed to his again fair youth, the Earl of Southampton, his friend. So what happened is that he is trying to, now here we see that
call this. Meeting
so he's trying to address this to his again the fair youth, the friend, and he's trying to say that if you see, "Shall I compare thee to a summer's day?" So that means he's taking weather as a motivation and trying to pen down the sonnet. He had done that. He's saying that, what shall I compare my friend to, a summer or anything else? So there are variety of sonnets written by Shakespeare addressing to the fair youth and the dark lady. Now, one more interesting about Shakespearean, it is always written in iambic pentameter, that is divided into five, one unstressed syllable followed by a stressed syllable. So that is the main attraction about Shakespearean sonnets. Okay, now as I was talking about the symbols, he had also used flowers and trees. If we notice sonnet number 12, he had used flowers and trees, and he just literally tried to say that the barren trees symbolize old age and death. Just like when the leaves fall off in the winter, he tries to say that is the age, the end of a person's life, a human life. That is how he has tried to portray things. Then he has stars, as I already spoke about, because during Elizabethan age they believed in cosmology, astrology, and metaphysical system. So they believed in all those things, and therefore he used the stars. Now he said that stars which denote common fate, and he had also mentioned in sonnet number 25 that he is unlucky with his stars. That means he's not lucky enough. His stars are not in his favor. So he has literally used the stars as a symbol of his sonnet. Then he has used weather, as I mentioned. How shall I compare my friend to a summer or something else? So here we see that in sonnet number 18, he has tried to compare his friend with the weather, the seasons. Now, it used to, these kind of sonnets, these are all various themes that he had tried to derive from nature. So that is the reason that makes Shakespeare a great sonneteer, because at one point all were fed up with the Italian structure of the sonnets, because they were just writing about the struggle, the society, the usual things. But here we see that Shakespeare is not only restricting himself to his friend or dark lady, he is trying to also draw motivation and inspiration from nature. And he's taken the weather, seasons, stars, all these things. Then he has also taken time, and he says that in one of his sonnets, he says that time, nobody can hold time. We know time and tide wait for none. He says, Rosy cheeks, pink lips will fade with time, but the heart will remain pure as it is. The love will remain pure. So that is what he is trying to, take practical examples, the all the natural things, and he's trying to show in his sonnets. Then he had also mentioned about lust and love. He has mentioned that those things are dangerous. It is like one should not be emotional. If one is emotional, so that person has to undergo a lot of physical pain, because in sonnet 127 to 152 he has also mentioned this, and he tried to express his love for the dark lady, because there were a lot of issues prevailing during that time with the women, as I mentioned, the Elizabethan era. Women did not have the privilege to vote. They couldn't inherit the father's property. They were totally dominated by the male.
Ma'am, please unmute yourself, please.
Is it fine?
And yes, ma'am, it's okay.
Sorry, I didn't know that. Okay. So it's not that he's just restricting himself to his own struggle, because in one of his sonnets he has mentioned that his stars are not lucky. He's not, his stars are not favorable for him. But other than that, he has not only talked about all struggles and only pain, internal conflicts, which Milton had done literally. Even Petrarch had done, but he wanted to bring out the issues that were prevailing during the Elizabethan time. The lot of issues during the Queen Elizabethan time. So then there were a lot of conflicts in the church. Women were not allowed to enter the theater, and they were not allowed to watch any theater, any plays. So there were a lot of issues. So he dealt with each and everything in his sonnet. That is the reason I feel that makes Shakespeare a great sonneteer. At least I believe that it makes him a real great sonneteer. And he had also added, like, we see a lot of sweet fragrance. Now, once we start reading Elizabethan sonnets, we just have the sweet fragrance. We feel the bliss that what Wordsworth, the romantic poet William Wordsworth, had mentioned, bliss of solitude. So we can literally find that bliss, the serenity, the calmness in Shakespearean poets. But sometimes, yeah, it does make us, it disturbs by when he brings out the hardcore issues of life, but that regarding the dark lady, like love was not favorable for him. He was never loved, he says. Stars were not favorable. So that's when we find that he is literally battling with himself. But there are variety of motives in his sonnets. It did not restrict to one particular theme. Yes, if you have any questions.
Hello.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
I have a question. Thanks for your nice discussion. This is Mohammad Shalom Chaudhuri, Associate Professor, Department of English, Dhaka International University. Madam, I want to know from you what are the rules of a Shakespearean sonnet, and what are the three characteristics of Shakespearean sonnets? I want to know from you in detail. If
Okay,
you
sure.
if you explain, I will be very grateful to you, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you so much. That's a wonderful question. I was expecting this question from the audience. Nobody asked me. Okay. Now, the chief characteristic of Shakespearean sonnet is that it's written in like iambic pentameter. And I already mentioned what is an iambic pentameter. And if you see the rhyme scheme, I'll just read one of his sonnets. Happy ye leaves Venus those lily hands, which hold my life in their dead doing might. So if we check the rhyme scheme, we'll see that it's A B B C A B A B B C B C C D C D E E. So that's the typical rhyme scheme he follows in his sonnet. And If you read the sonnet, you will see that he is trying directly, he is addressing whatever he tries to convey to the readers. He doesn't pose a question and then he doesn't ask doesn't give the conclusion or the answer to it. The chief characteristic is this: we can easily make out, it is so simplified, it is so lucid, that we can easily make out what he's trying to convey. And in some of his sonnets, he had also used the heroic couplet. Now, heroic couplet, it's a very close ended. By reading one line, we can make out what the sonneteer is trying to convey in his sonnet. So that makes Shakespeare different from other sonneteers.
Hi, can I ask a question?
Please, ma'am.
Yes.
This is Rizwana.
What are the themes of Shakespearean Sonnets?
Sorry.
It's better first we can Rizwana,
Rejona.
Yes, I had a question. Can I ask? Yeah.
So, yeah, please repeat your question.
If I can ask, what do you think is the most famous sonnet from Shakespeare? If I can ask your view, and why do you think so?
Okay. Now, if you ask me that which is the most famous sonnet of Shakespeare, I cannot say that this is my favorite or this is famous. It's very difficult to say. Like, it would be like a literal, caught between the devil and the deep blue sea, because all sonnets are equally very good and very attractive, and it attracts the readers. Okay. But one of my favorite is A Summer's Day. Okay. Because there he is using just the weather. Just imagine the weather and the season to describe his friend.
Is it the sonnet number 18, if I may interrupt?
That's the sonnet number 18. Yeah, I already spoke about that's the sonnet number 18. Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Carry on.
Anybody, any question? Please go ahead.
Do you have any question, please, audience?
Hi, this is Mahmudul Hassan Mamun. I have a question.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, my question is that there are various types of poetry. So from this type of poetry, sonnet is special. We take it especially. So what is the difference between sonnet and another or other poetry, and why should we emphasize on sonnet?
Okay. Again, a wonderful question. Thank you so much for this question. See, there are a lot of other forms of poetry. Now, if I talk about epic, we know what is an epic. Milton has written epic Paradise Lost. We have already, most of us have read that. It's a wonderful epic. That's a lengthy poem. It's about more than 12,000 lines. Then we have Ramayana, we have Mahabharata from our old age. Then a lot of epics been written. Then another form of poetry is ballad. Now, what is a ballad? It is just like a long narrative poetry. But if you read a ballad, you can make out that it is kind of narrating a story. Apparently, it would look like a poetic form, but it has just lengthy poem. But when you just go on reading a ballad, you will see that it is just a story. It is narrating a story. And this sonnet is different. Why? Because, see, now I would love to read a sonnet because that just addresses the issue, and then I can find out, okay, this is what is going on. But when you want to interpret Paradise Lost and a ballad like Paradise Lost, Ramayana, Mahabharata, it takes a lot of time. You need to emphasize a lot. But in sonnet as such, you see a 14-line poem, which is pretty crisp, easy to understand, easy to comprehend. Therefore, I would definitely say it's a sonnet.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Is there any questions from the audience?
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah.
This is Yasin Ali. My question is like this. Actually, in sonnet, there is much rigidity of letters and words. The first portion, second portion, 8 lines, 6 lines. It seems very rigid to me. Why the art of literature should be that rigid? That is my question. Because As a poet, if I want to write anything, it should come from within myself automatically, from my emotion. If I want to write any sonnet, that time I would have to count about the letters or words or all this rigidity. Doesn't it bother us if we want to write, if we want to write or be a poet, sonnet poet? That is my question.
Great, great, wonderful. Now, what happened is that now, yes, as Wordsworth said, now what is poetry? Poetry is the overflow, spontaneous overflow of emotions. Okay, so whatever we
Yeah.
feel, we can just write it down. Even near the lake or near, on a bed, sitting in a bed, I can write down anything. I can pen down my thoughts, my ideas and views. But but here, sonnet is a poetic form which was during it was quite famous during the 15th century. That is the reason, like they no see the poets and the sonneteers, they there is that tendency, it makes them different from the normal human beings, because they try to experiment, they try to explore a lot of ideas. And if you literally go through a sonnet, you won't see that there is much difference over there. It is divided. Now the division is done by the poets themselves, because they divide it into eight and then six. So that's the
Yes.
structure of the sonnet. But yeah, if nowadays you will see people don't write sonnets. Why? Yeah, because the content, we lack content, the exact crispness is lacking, and we cannot just restrict ourselves to 14 lines. Therefore you see that nowadays people don't write sonnets, they just try to express their views and opinions. So if you say rigidity, not exactly rigidity, because that's one of the poetic forms that was very much prevalent during the Elizabethan age.
So, ma'am, another question comes from Fatima Chaudhuri.
Yeah.
She raises the question in such a way that why Shakespeare thought he should write sonnet, or how he came up with this idea.
Oh, great. Now, Shakespeare was a great playwright. We know that, like as I said, like he had lot of plays to his credit in his kitty. So yeah, he was very much influenced when Petrarch started, the Italian poet Petrarch started writing sonnets. He was very much influenced with that. Therefore, he thought that why not he try with sonnets? Because, and one more thing, if you notice, in his plays and all, he was not able to directly address to the friends and his childhood fair youth or the dark lady. So he thought that sonnet is the best medium through which he can, it's a kind of a tribute he can pay to his friend and the dark lady. Therefore he started thinking writing sonnets.
Ma'am, I have a question.
Okay, through your question, please.
My question is that through your previous discussion, it has been clear to me that sonnet is a way to express emotion within some short lines, such as you told Paradise Lost, Mahabharata. This is a long narrative poem. So if anyone wants to express his emotion in short line and with short lines, sonnet is the best. My question is that why has it been fixed with 14 lines? Why isn't it 8 lines or 4 lines or 10 lines? Or why not it? Why isn't it within 15 lines? Why has it been fixed? Why has it been particular? Can you please clarify?
Yeah, sure. Now, see, as I mentioned in the beginning of the session, that this sonnet actually originated from Italy, and it was by Petrarch who started this sonnet, the tradition of sonnet. Now, he had framed and tailored sonnet in such a way that it has octave and sestet, like 8 lines and 6 lines. That's how he had tailored the sonnet. Therefore, it is restricted to 14 lines. It doesn't go beyond 14 lines. Because now, if it is a long poem which crosses like more than 1,000 lines, 2,000 lines, 12,000 lines, we call it an epic. So that is a poetic form. Then a poetic form which narrates a story, which we call it a ballad. So that's how the things are tailored to it. And that is what Petrarch had literally tailored the sonnet and wanted to express exactly in 14 lines, making it octave, 8 lines, and then the conclusion of the problem. Solution, he comes up with the next 6 lines.
Ma'am, I have a question. Sorry to interrupt you. This is Shalom Chaudhuri. Associate Professor, Dhaka International University. In Shakespearean Sonnet 116, Let Me Not, here he has written that, let me not to the marriage of two minds, admit impediments, love is not love. So some critics have said that Shakespeare is against traditional marriage. How will you justify it? If you explain it to me and for our audience, I will be very happy.
Okay. Now, as I said, yeah, Shakespeare was definitely against this traditional marriage theme, because he believed that marriage, it will definitely decay the love. Okay, that love, the freshness of love won't exist once he gets married. And also in one of his sonnets, he had rightly mentioned that he's unlucky with the stars because he was not a successful lover. He was not successful as a lover. His love life was not successful. Okay, therefore at that point of time he tried to say that, okay, marriage is not the right institution. The right institution, like, it is the only thing is the pure love, the love that exists in your heart. Even that heart, that love cannot, the time cannot take away the love. The your looks, your beauty would fade with time, but the pure love would remain, and it would go with you till the grave. That's how it is.
Okay, Jubair Ahmed, sir, you might have a question, please.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you very much for your nice lecture. And I want to have an answer from you that actually, do we have any kind of spiritual connection in Shakespearean sonnet? What's your idea about this?
If I say that spiritual connection, yeah, definitely I would say when he had taken the, derived the motivation from the stars. Yeah, cosmology, planets, stars. This is spiritual connection with the universe. Yes, he has. He had taken a lot of themes and motives from there. Yes, definitely.
Thank you, ma'am.
This is Rizwana here again, if I'm allowed to ask another question.
Yeah, sure.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, well, there are so many individual themes that we can find in each Shakespearean sonnet. But if we are looking for an overall theme, can we find it? I mean, is it possible that we can safely say that there is one common theme that all of the sonnets addresses?
One short word I can use is love. Yeah, though he was not successful in love, you can say it's overall love. Yeah, yes. He loved nature, he loved his dark lady, he loved his friends. So yes, love definitely would dominate all his sonnets.
Thank you so much.
Okay, this is yes.
Yes, sir. Raise your question, please.
This is Atikur Rahman Mamun, Associate Professor, Department of English, Dhaka International University. Ma'am, this is a very nice presentation, and that is a nice international series going on. We are very happy to see you. I have one question about the love, unconventional love we see in Shakespearean sonnet. But that time, unconventional love was very rare during that time, Elizabethan era. So why Shakespeare has choose such kind of love in his sonnet? Please, can we answer?
So can you just repeat the question? There was a break in between. I mean, there was some interruption in between. The audio was not clear. Can you just, if you don't mind, can you just repeat the question, please?
Mahmoud, sir, please unmute yourself first and then leave your questions again, please.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, okay.
Yes, 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 ma'am. We see in Shakespearean sonnet, he has described in the field of love as an unconventional love. Unconventional love. And why he chooses such kind of love in his sonnet, that means we know that in Elizabethan period, unconventional love was very rare. Why he has choose such kind of love, unconventional love?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for the question. As I said, like, he was not a successful in his love life. His love life was not successful. Therefore, now if I say that there are some critics who had mentioned that the Shakespearean dark lady, he was part of some like prostitution and all those things, so he was never successful, and it was for such reason he believed in, and he picked up the love as unconventional thing, because in the Elizabethan era love was considered as a crime. Okay, so therefore, since he was not successful, he did not believe in the institution of marriage, and he wanted to literally go ahead and pick up the unconventional love theme, so that he could at least express his love to his dark lady.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much.
So, ma'am, there is another question from Mamun 37A. Will you make the question, please, Mamun? Okay, I'm just going to read his question to you, ma'am. He asked, the question is that, how do we see the theme of friendship reflected in Shakespeare's sonnets?
Great. See, if I talk about friendship, you can see that he has at least dedicated 1 to 126 sonnets dedicated to his friend. So you can imagine the bond of friendship, a strong bond. He was very much dedicated to his friend, that the way he was dedicated to his dark lady, he was totally dedicated to his friend. Therefore, and here also, now if you see that there is it is not a balanced. Okay, now his friend was an Earl of Southampton. He was quite in socially, he was high in status, but compared to Shakespeare, if you compare to Shakespeare, he was not that socially well off. So therefore, he was so much dedicated, he went ahead to dedicate at least 126 sonnets to his friend as a tribute, because that's how the strong bonding comes up in his sonnets.
So, Mohammad Kausar Ali, you have another question. So I'm just going to read his question, ma'am. His questions is, what is the unique qualities of Shakespeare's sonnet? Why he is unique than other sonnetiers?
Yeah, great. Shakespeare is 100% unique. As I said, like if you read his sonnets, you can make out what he's trying to convey to the readers. You don't have to much go ahead and delve into the whole sonnet. By reading the couple of lines, you can just make out. And it's very straightforward. It's too lucid, to the point, and he's directly addressing the issues, whatever he's trying to, dealing with. So it is very easy to comprehend. First of all, it will give a lot of pleasure to the readers. It will give a kind of a bliss to the readers, a kind of serenity to the readers. That's the reason he is unique.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. So, guys, do you have any more questions?
I have a question, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Ma'am, I have a question.
Yeah, sure.
We know that there are three types of sonnets. One is Patterson, Shakespearean, and Spenserian. So we know that the Milton and Wordsworth have sonnet. So why they?
I'm sorry, your voice is breaking. I'm sorry, your voice is breaking. So if you,
my question is, no, there are three types of questions. Sonnets. One is Patterson, second Shakespeare, and third is Spenserian. So we know that they are Patterson sonnets. Why they didn't follow Shakespearean sonnets? And my second question is,
most probably connection problem
between Patterson sonnet and Shakespearean sonnet.
So, ma'am, super. I have got the question. Is that what's the basic difference between Petrarch and Shakespearean sonnets?
Okay. Now, see, if you check the Petrarchan sonnet, Petrarch originally started writing sonnets. He was from Italy, and in the 14th century Italy, he had the sonnets originated from Italy, and he was the first one to pen down the sonnet. Now, if you see his sonnets, you will see again a lot of complexities. And now these type of sonnets used to only deal with a lot of complexities of life. Now, at one point, even Shakespeare became fed up that he did not want to follow the conventional way of sonnet, conventional themes of Petrarchan sonnets, because they were just talking about, now if I just go ahead and talk about life, issues of life, conflicts of life, struggles of life, at one point, the readers will definitely be bored with that. Just like movies, if we see some conventional movies like always fighting, that there is nothing to it more than that. So the audience will definitely be bored of that. Therefore, even so, that Shakespeare is unique in such a way because he did not restrict himself to one theme. He had lot of themes, various themes. Therefore, he is unique. Now, in Miltonic sonnet, we see again, Milton was talking about, just because he became blind, he was talking about his internal conflict. He was not able to connect himself to the people and the universe. Therefore, he was continuously complaining about the struggles, his internal conflict through his sonnets. But here in Shakespearean sonnets, hardly in one sonnet we see where Shakespeare has mentioned that he is unlucky with the stars. Other than that, it's all tribute to his friends and Dark Lady. So that makes Shakespeare unique as a sonneteer.
Hello.
Yes, Tahmina ma'am, please make your question.
Okay,
yes.
Assalamu alaikum. Here, Dr. Paramita, thank you so much for this nice deliberation. I'm very impressed to see you and have your voice here. Now I have a question, if you allow me to ask you a question.
Please, my pleasure.
Okay, thank you. Very simple question I have. That is, there is a sonnet by Shakespeare naming "My mistress's eyes are nothing like the sun," where he mentioned that his beloved's beauty is not something lovely or rare kind of beauty. She has not that much grace or that much rare beauty. She is not possessing. So Shakespeare is just complimenting her very simple, very natural growing beauty. And how will you evaluate this one? Shakespeare is not flattering his beloved here. So how will you please evaluate this aspect of Shakespeare here?
Thank you, ma'am, for your question. Now, what happened is that as I said that during the Elizabethan era, there was a lot of racial discrimination which was very much prevalent in the society. Therefore, when he addressed to the Dark Lady, and the critics say that she was literally dark complexion. Therefore, Shakespeare did not believe in materialistic love. That is one more thing. He did not believe in materialistic love. If you go through the sonnets which are dedicated to the Dark Lady, you will see that's a pure love which is trying to convey through his sonnets. And he said, with time, beauty would fade away. It would age, but pure love you can go with it till the grave. It can be buried with him. Therefore, that makes him so much different. He did not believe in the materialistic love. Rather than that, I would term it as a platonic love.
Oh, yeah. I have got it. So thank you so much for this answer, ma'am. And I'm enjoying very much. Really, I'm enjoying your lecture.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
ma'am. I have a question.
Sure, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Your presentation is very nice, and I like it. I enjoy it so much. I have two questions. First of all, I would like to say that Iambic Pentameter. You know that there are some rules and regulations to write sonnet poetry.
Yes.
So such as Volta, then rhyme scheme, and
yes, sir. Yes, sir, thank you so much. Now, if you talk about Volta, that was again used by Petrarch. Okay, Petrarchan sonnet, you will find Volta because in his sestet, the last two lines, that sestet was known as Volta. Okay, he used the Italian form that is Volta. But in this literal sense, Shakespearean sonnet, if you go through the Shakespearean sonnet, you will find iambic pentameter that directly, which is like a 5 feet syllables. 5 feet syllables. One is unstressed, one is stressed, followed by the stressed one. Like if I say da, dum, so da is not unstressed, dum. Definitely, if you literally hear the sound, the phonics of it, it is stressing. So that is the iambic pentameter that he had followed in his sonnet.
Ma'am, there is another interesting question.
Yeah, please.
This question comes from Mamon Rana. He raises the question in such a way that when have Shakespeare sonnets become popular to the readers? From which time, actually?
See, Shakespeare was initially not that great as a sonneteer. We know that his plays were very much great, and after that, when he was very much influenced from Petrarch, from the Italian sonneteer Petrarch, that's when he started like writing sonnets. And in 1609, his sonnets were established. I mean, published all. Therefore, the readers now, as we know that readers were going through Petrarchan sonnets, Miltonic sonnets, Spenserian sonnets. So at one point we see that there is a boredom, imbibed everywhere. People were bored with the same kind of theme and issues of life. Therefore, when they started going through Shakespearean sonnets, they felt, yes, there is a variety. And we know that variety is a spice of life. So that's when they found variety. After it was published in 1609. And then eventually it just started flowing, and it's still flowing. It will keep on flowing.
Ma'am, another questions come from Anisor Rahman. He raises the question in such a way that why Shakespeare writes some sonnets in his drama? What was its reason?
If you go through his play Hamlet, you will see a monologue. Okay, when Hamlet is trying to take up a decision whether to revenge the death of his father. Okay, that time there is a lengthy monologue, or we call it a soliloquy, wherein he is trying to speak out his mind. Okay, that kind of influence we see in some of the sonnets. So if you go through that, you can connect it. Exactly, he has not used the sonnets, but we see an interconnection of it. So that's a kind of a monologue. When he says, I'm not lucky with the stars, what is it? He's trying to talk out his mind. It's kind of a monologue, soliloquy. So same thing, you can connect it with Hamlet, because Hamlet was not successful either.
Another question from Mamun 37 Abich. The question is that what role does nature play in the sonnets of Shakespeare? What does nature play? Nature play.
Now, if you see most of the Shakespearean sonnets, he has derived the inspiration from nature. As I said, stars. He said stars because Elizabethan era, they believed in cosmology, astrology, and he said that he's not lucky. And now stars, he used to associate with fate. And he said, I'm not lucky with the stars. Again, if you see weather, season, he has compared his friend to the summer. Shall I compare thee to the summer day? So he was trying to compare, or shall I compare to summer or any other thing? So there is all these things are derived from nature. Then again, time. Again, that is part of nature. Art and time. It's like time fades away everything, but pure love would prevail all the time. It will remain every time. So all the things are derived from nature only. He was very much connected to nature, which was later on followed by the romantic poets like Keats, Wordsworth, everyone who followed that convention.
Ma'am, this is Mahmudul Hassan Mamun. I could not complete my question because there was a problem, network connection. So now I would like to, if you allow me, I would like to complete it. Can you please allow?
So please go ahead.
Yeah, my question is that there are some rules to make sonnet, such as Volta, then rhyme scheme, and Iambic Pentameter. And Iamb means a set of two syllables, first unstressed, then second stressed. Unstressed and stressed. It's it's looking like that on kind of musical or lyrical. So sonnet is not lyrical. So what is the benefit of this kind of rules to add here? This is my first question. And second question is that is there any particular rule to write sonnet or universal rule to write sonnet? In different countries. Actually, I would like to say that is there any rule which is particular which will be followed by the people or the poet all over the world? Is it?
Great, sir. Great, sir. Now, sir, as you said, it's unstressed and stressed. I mentioned begin at the starting, like sonnet is an Italian word which has come from the word sonetto, which means a rhythm, a jingle. So definitely it's lyrical. It's 100% lyrical. Okay, that's the first thing. Second thing, yes, the universal phenomenon which is followed in this writing a sonnet, that should be a 14 line. Definitely, whether you write it pentameter, tetrameter, doesn't matter, but it has to be 14 line. That's a rule of sonnet.
Thank you so much.
Ma'am, there is another question from Mohammad Iqbal. His question is, what are the main feature of Shakespearean sonnet? Though you have talked in the very first session.
That's fine. Thank you so much. Like, okay, fine. Now the first thing, it's the uniqueness. Now, if you go through the Shakespearean sonnets, I would request everybody to go through the Shakespearean sonnets, and you will see that uniqueness. The dedication, you will see the dedication. Now, dedicated to a friend, to his love. So that kind of fragrance, the flavor you can feel in Shakespearean sonnets. And one more thing, like other sonnets, you have to go and delve into the depth of it to understand, comprehend, interpret. But in Shakespearean sonnets, if you just go through that, anybody can just go ahead and comprehend and understand the Shakespearean sonnet, because it's that simple. You can literally relate to your own life. You can relate to yourself. Like if I am very much, I have a very good bonding with a friend, I can relate when I read the sonnet which are dedicated to his friends. If I'm in love, I can relate to the sonnets to my lady love or the person I love. So you can literally relate to your practical things of your life. That's how the uniqueness of Shakespearean sonnets are.
Okay, ma'am. No, Sharif Hussain. Most probably he has a question. Sharif, please unmute yourself and then raise your question. Okay. So his question is, how can a literature student enjoy to read the sonnet?
Great. Just go through the sonnet, read the sonnet, definitely relate to yourself. Read and read again, try to understand it. Definitely you will be able to enjoy. I literally enjoy. When I used to do my graduation and masters and all, I love to read sonnets. It really we derive a different pleasure by reading sonnets. So as a literature student, you just try this. As an experimental basis, you try to read the sonnets. Try to relate to yourself, how you can relate. I'm not only talking about Shakespearean sonnets. You can try to pick up any sonnet and just go through that, and then try to compare with Shakespearean sonnets, and you will definitely fall in love with Shakespearean sonnets.
Can I ask another question, sir? Sorry, the lines are interrupting. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, Rizwana here again. I just have a question in my mind that are the sonnets wholly or in part autobiographical, or are they merely just poetical exercises?
Okay, that's a very, very good question. No, they are not autobiographical, because if you go through the other sonnets of Spenser and Milton and all, Milton to some extent it's autobiographical, but if you go through the Spenserian sonnets and Petrarchan sonnets, they are no, it's not autobiographical. Even Shakespearean sonnets are not autobiographical. They are just written, but deriving Shakespeare had drawn inspiration from nature and various themes and had penned down the sonnets. So no, it's not exactly autobiographical. We cannot say that.
Is there any question? Though we have running after the time even. Okay, ma'am. So should we take another question, ma'am?
I'm fine with it.
Okay. So is there anyone who want to raise the question? Most probably there is no question, no more question, as time is also running out. Thank you for your lively, engaging session indeed.
My pleasure, sir. And I would love to, take up more questions if you wouldn't have the time constraint. Again, there is a constraint here, so I would love to take up more and more questions. Next time, we'll have more interactive sessions like this. I had just somebody had raised a question.
Yes, ma'am. Should we take this question?
Yeah, please, please, please.
Okay. So this is from Anisor Rahman. He just raised the question now. We know that total 150 sonnets.
154.
154 sonnets were written by Shakespeare. But which one is your best? I mean, your favorite sonnet. Which one is your favorite one?
That's again, I said that we are just got here. It's a catch-22 situation, like wherein I cannot just go ahead and say this is my favorite. But yeah, to some extent, if you really say I love, it's sonnet number 18, where he's dedicated to his a fair youth again. So I love that sonnet. But overall, you cannot just say I love this sonnet, that sonnet, because every sonnet has a variety, every sonnet has a different flavor, every sonnet has a different fragrance. So if you go through that, you will understand definitely.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for being so patient and listening to me.
Yes, ma'am. Most probably everyone is satisfied with your answer.
Thank you.
So if you permit us, we can conclude the session.
Yes, sir. Please, please.
Okay. Should I utter the both of things to others?
Yes. Sir, I have one more question here. Let me just answer that. What's the difference between Petrarchan sonnet and Shakespearean sonnet? Now, if you go through the Petrarchan sonnet, you will see that lot of complexities of life, okay? And the rhyme scheme is also very different. You will see the rhyme scheme is like CDE, CDE. So it is very different kind of a sonnet scheme. And if you go through the Shakespearean sonnet, as I said, like it's very unique, it's straightforward. By reading the couple of lines, you can just make out that, okay, fine, the sonneteer is trying to convey this idea. But in Petrarchan sonnet, it's mostly divided into octave and sestet. Octave 8 lines and sestet 6 lines. The first 8 lines would definitely address the issues of life. He would pose questions of life, and the concluding 6 lines, he would give the solutions to the problems. So that's the difference between Petrarchan and Shakespearean sonnets. Somebody's saying, yes. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. So lots of appreciations are coming from the audience assessment. Okay. So, ma'am, should we conclude the session now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. On behalf of Dhaka International University and MTC Global India, I would like to thank Dr. Paramita Chaudhuri for providing her time and delivering such a vibrant, informative, engaging, and interactive presentation on Shakespearean sonnet. The topic explained by you, ma'am, will undoubtedly play an effective role to enrich the knowledge of our beloved students, teachers, as well as the audiences. I'm highly grateful to you, ma'am, for your exuberant deliverance and interactive session. I would also like to gratitude to Dhaka International University Management and MTC Global India for taking initiative role to organize the International Lecture Series. Once again, I must acknowledge my deep-rooted and humble gratitude to the Chairman, Board of Trustees of Dhaka International University, Barrister Shamim Haidar Patwari Sir, for his continuous encouragement to organize this International Lecture Series. I also feel glad to show my humble thanks Professor Dr. K.M. Mohsin Sir for their inspiration to organize this educative lecture series. I must profoundly utter my vote of thanks to Professor Dr. Bolanath Datta, founder of MTC Global India, and Professor Dr. Sirajul Islam Pradhan, Director, IQAC of Dhaka International University for your relentless encouragement. I heartily thank to the Chairman of the Department of English, Okay, ma'am. Sorry, ma'am. Most probably internet connection. I was out of this. Yeah. So I'm just going to repeat it again, please. So I must profoundly utter my vote of thanks to Professor Dr. Bolanath Datta, founder of MTC Global India, and Professor Dr. Sirajul Islam Pradhan, Director IQAC of Dhaka International University, for your relentless encouragement. I heartily thank to the Chairman of the Department of English and Assistant Professor S. Jubair Ahmed for playing vital role to organize the program. I must profoundly express my heartfelt thanks to the co-host of today's program, Millie Rahman ma'am, Associate Professor, for her relentless work to make this program peaceful. I would also like to appreciate the constant efforts of IT team, Dhaka International University, for providing the technical support to make this smooth journey of today's international lecture series. I must acknowledge the active participation of faculty members, especially Associate Professor Shahalam Chaudhuri, Sir, Additional Registrar, and other teachers, and to make their questions to make the program lively. Of course, we appreciate the positive feedback from all the participants. We are looking forward to getting such enthusiasm from our participants in the future as well. And once again, thank you all the students, teachers, and participants, and of course, Dr. Paramita Chaudhuri, for making today's lecture series effective, fruitful, and lively. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. My pleasure. Hope to have these sessions in the future, many more sessions like this. Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.